Thank you for joining us today. My name is Dean Breida. I'm part of the partner organization. I'm a partner development specialist. I focus on application modernization. I'm here with my lovely friend, Mario Popish. He's a solution architect. He focuses on Amazon AWS Graviton. So today we're going to talk about what we think are very significant use cases that Graviton makes the perfect position for. From an agenda standpoint, we're going to talk about how you can position Amazon AWS Graviton, the different types of use cases we feel that are really significant in the industry today. We're going to talk about how your partner organization can help you adopt Graviton in the future, and then we're going to talk about some customer success, and we're going to give you some links so you can get additional information. And Mario and I will also be available right after the session to answer any type of questions that you have. Awesome. So first we're going to talk about what is your cloud adoption journey that you're on today. And hopefully everybody does have a cloud adoption journey. And if you think cloud adoption actually stops and ends with a migration, we're a little wrong there. So what we feel is that you actually gain the maximized cloud business value when you modernize your application suite. So the migration is simply the first step, or hopefully it's eliminated altogether and you look at modernizing your application stack initially when you join AWS Cloud. So we know everybody has a journey that they're on, and you can notice that your journey actually maximizes cloud value as you modernize your applications. And we feel when you look to modernize your applications, one of the most significant decisions you need to make is what type of compute that you want to leverage. And we really think Graviton's that compute choice that you should at least consider for your use cases. So the real question is, how do you really choose your compute instances? We like to think there's a whole lot of business and technical investigation that goes into why you picked a specific instance and a specific processor to put it on. But what we hear from our partners and from our customers, sometimes it really isn't that complex. A lot of times people use just common scripts. They're used over and over again, just simply to provision EC2 instances. Not a whole lot of thought when they go down that road. And it turns really into a chronic type of decision choice. I have a shared services team within my organization. They provision my EC2 instance. I really don't have any input into that. Or again, they have a simple script they keep running over and over again, and it just seems like they're trying to find a uniform approach for every single use case that they have. What we're bringing up is different options that you do have and how Graviton fits in those different options. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mario to go into some detail why you really should decide and choose on Graviton.
Yeah, thanks, Dean. Why you should choose Graviton?
Mike's not on.
That's very unfortunate. I'll just keep talking, so tell me when you can hear it. All right. Why you should choose AWS Graviton, obviously, is it has the best price performance in Amazon EC2 for a broad array of workloads. I'm here to talk to you about use cases, and it's a general purpose CPU, so it's applicable to a whole bunch of use cases. What we like to tell people is it costs up to 20% less for the same EC2 instance type, comparable to an x86 instance. So we know that customers are recognizing that 20% price benefit at the get-go. There's also typically a 20% performance boost as well. So combine those two and you get a 40% price performance increase. It also uses up to 60% less energy. And this sustainability use case is not just about the energy savings or the carbon savings. Those are great, but this is really about sustaining and growing customer bases, partners' business, and AWS's business. So we've launched 4 generations of Graviton in the last 6 years. By designing this chipset in-house, we're able to innovate faster. And with it, you can also do the same. So Graviton 4 is our newest instance. You can see in the instance family, the G is for Graviton. Compared to Graviton 3, you get 30% better price performance, 3 times the vCPUs, 75% more memory bandwidth. I think the story of the history of Graviton started in 2019, and then in 2020 we launched our second generation, just 1 year after launching the first. every generation seems to boost the price performance benefits of this. So it's really great to see. Just yesterday we launched our i8G instance. So this is the 4th generation Graviton with local disks. So even better use cases for like those database, those data intensive workloads to pull that data in and process it. We also support multi-architecture, so launch templates for auto-scaling groups and containerized workloads. So you can use multi-architecture Docker images or container images without any configuration changes. So you can use that across EKS or the Elastic Container Service. I really like this quote from Informatica. I think it shows what we were saying there, that up to 20%. So they actually saw a 25% increase in their ingestion rate and reduced their search latency by another 25%. So you're seeing both the performance benefits, and I'll talk a little bit more about the price benefits that they saw. Like I said, Graviton is a general purpose CPU. Goes for all these use cases. Everybody I've talked to today has been adopting Graviton. I talked to e-commerce folks, I talked to infrastructure as code folks. It's applicable across a broad array of use cases, not just these few that I have named here, but pretty much anything you want to use, except for Microsoft Windows. Graviton 4 is particularly well suited for those open source databases. Incredible scale up, scale out potential there, especially with these extra large memory instances and local disk instances that are now available. I get this question a lot, so I wanted to answer it for you all. Why would you use a CPU for AI ML workloads? I think one of the really common reasons is you can't get the GPUs you need, so there's CPUs in a broad array of families to help with this. We've worked hard across a wide variety of machine learning frameworks to optimize them for Graviton. Another reason that people choose to use CPUs is it's a common workload. So if they're doing ETL's best done with a CPU. Vector databases are another great use case for Graviton. So you probably don't want to use the largest language models, but generative AI models up to about 30 billion parameters can fit well into a CPU use case. Streaming data inference. So if you need to talk, if you need to query a data stream, then CPU is a great use case for that. There's a bunch of traditional machine learning scenarios like classifications, rankings, clustering, random forest trees, and gradient boosted tree use cases as well for Graviton. I have just a list of some versions of machine learning frameworks that support Graviton. Hopefully you recognize your favorite framework in this list. We've, like I said, done a bunch of work to help optimize some of these frameworks to work best on Graviton. How do you use Graviton? Typically what just works, interpreted languages like Python, just-in-time languages like Node.js, .NET. Pretty much every .NET version since 2020 runs on Graviton, obviously on Linux workloads as well. Has to be run on Linux, but everything since version 6. What takes a little bit more work are compiled languages like C and Rust, but every major compiler supports Graviton. You see these AArch64 and ARM64, those are kind of the compiler flags that you want to look for. There's also a wide variety of Amazon machine images and multi-architecture containers. So look in your container registry of choice and you will find ARM64 compatible containers. Talking about easy, one of the easiest ways that people start to adopt Graviton is through these managed services. So there's a whole variety of AWS managed services that really you should just switch and test your workload on these. That's about all it takes is verification that you're seeing better performance. Really any use case that's processing data, right? Like you're not asking to change the data other than the processing you're doing. So changing the underlying processor architecture is a great use case for those data-intensive workloads. Couple of resources. The Graviton Technical Guide on GitHub is really one of the best resources. All of your questions are answered there, and if you ask me questions afterwards, I will be pulling my answers from there as well. That's where I go to get my information. Graviton Fast Start Guide, if you need a little handholding on how you want to start adopting Graviton, there's a kind of 4-hour workflow to give you step-by-step for self-managed workloads, as well as managed services. Last but not least, Porting Advisor for Graviton is a command line tool to analyze your source code. Runs locally, so it doesn't export any data. You can point it at your source code, and it'll tell you about any code patterns or dependencies that you have that might need updating. That, in general, is what you really want to see is up-to-date libraries and dependencies. One of the great customer success stories is Amazon's own use of Graviton processors. As you can see from the slide, that use has been ramping up year over year. And in the last year, we used over 250,000 Graviton chips, contributed to our Prime Day success. So continuing to scale is one of the things that Graviton really can help you, your customers, succeed with. I did want to circle back to this Informatica case because they really had a full migration of 750 instances within 6 weeks. So that was to production. They started processing 33 terabytes of data and managing 2.2 petabytes of data. And what they saw in their performance after the migration to Graviton was prior it took a few minutes to search through a petabyte, 30x faster data searches on Graviton, 15 seconds to search 2.2 petabytes. So they reduced their instance count by 10%, as well as these other cool metrics. I also really like the sprinklers use case because it highlighted the great price performance value of Graviton for AI ML use cases. You can find this and many more use cases on AWS's website. We have a bunch of customer success stories. I'll hand it back to Dean.
So now that you learned all about what Graviton is and how you can use it, you're probably asking, how do we get started? Well, we're a firm believer behind our AWS partners. Our AWS partners that have been validated and have been tested is really our army that we have to help our customers adopt Graviton. And so why would you want to use a Graviton partner? Well, first of all, they've taken Graviton, they've created unique service solutions around those based upon different types of industries, based upon different use cases. They have the experience and the expertise. They've been validated through our validation processes, very similar to how we have competency practices. We have validation practices for our Graviton partners. And that's not only for our service partners, but also for our ISV partners. So the people that make the software that integrate and work on Graviton, we also validate those folks. So our customers can feel assured that no matter when they go to start their journey, that they can find a partner that will help them with the service side of it and the software side of it. And of course, maximum value, reducing time to value for your project. This is just a few of our key partners that we work with on the Graviton side, and this is for our SI partners. This slide's constantly changing, and we're constantly validating net new partners as we go. So if there's a partner that you're working with today and you're interested in Graviton, we'd love to talk to the partner and yourself about how we can get them through our validation process. And this is our service-ready partners or our software partners. So this really validates and guarantees that when you pick a piece of software off the shelf, that it's going to work on top of Graviton. And to wrap things up a little bit, we want to make sure that you had additional information so you can do a little more research about Graviton. And so we have multiple different types of resources that you can find online. And like I mentioned when we started, Mario and I are going to be available. We have the rest of the night we're going to hang out, so hopefully you have a lot of questions for us.